A launch is an opportunity to see how warm your audience is and to trusting your brand and their ability to be ready to buy. A launch is a chance for you to increase your visibility and your engagement. So it's a nice little extra jolt to make sure you're hitting those points of growing your business. A launch is not a measure of your self-worth. A launch is not a way to test if people like you as a person enough to invest money with you. A launch is not a period where you're demanding high energy and high productivity throughout the entire launch. It is not a definitive factor that this means if it doesn't go well, that your business isn't going to go well. Nah, it's just a definitive factor that we got to change your messaging. Truly understanding the two distinctions between a launch is and what a launch is not is going to allow you to see selling more as a playground, more as a way to learn more about yourself than to absolutely feel as if it's something that's like really harsh and really hard against you. Welcome to the Limitless podcast, the show where women entrepreneurs become radically aware of their limiting beliefs, learn to value their worth, generate wealth, and to thrive as a magnetic brand leader. I'm your host, Jamie Ratermann, a six-figure holistic business coach. I've helped over 100 rebellious entrepreneurs master marketing, embody leadership, and say fuck it to the hustle. Let's dive in. Hello, lovelies, and welcome to another episode of the Limitless podcast. I am so happy you're here because guess what? I went through parts 1 through 3 of our Rising Sales series, and I was like, I have something else I want to share. So today's episode is a bonus, part 4 into our Rising Sales series. So if you've been around and you've been listening to the last 3 episodes, you now know how to release your money blocks. You know how to hone in your messaging when it's time to sell. You know how to build or start to build your selling system. But for me, I wanted to finish this wealth generation series. This is what this is all about, is making sure while you're building that, you are your most healthy, happy, and empowered leader while you do it. Because there's something that when it comes to trying something new, selling, putting yourself out there, we want to make sure that the person is whole first. You are whole first. You're doing everything you can to feel good before we do everything else. So with that, that's a large part of what we're going to talk about today, because there's something that I hear all the time is that don't want to get burned out while I launch. So there's 4 key factors that really play into this, and I want to dive right on in. So let's dive right on in and let's talk about what does it take, 4 ways to make sure we are preventing selling or launch burnout together. So the first thing we want to talk about is you got to set a really realistic and supportive timeline. So something that comes up often is I'll have clients who have seen people online who do so well that they'll open their doors, sell out in 2 days, and close their doors. And then they think somebody who's new into business or in general is just getting their social media working for them, getting their name out there, building up their influence. They'll want to do the same thing. So they'll do this thing where they're like, okay, I'm going to sell out in 2 weeks as fast as I can. And here's the truth. Here's the truth. Whenever I'm asked this question by most entrepreneurs, I'm going to tell them 4 to 6 weeks. I want you to set a realistic and supportive timeline for the fact that there's a lot of things that go into a strong launch. And you want to make sure that you not only have the time, but you're able to hit it consistently without feeling like you're depleting your energy, kind of hurting yourself along the way. So this is what kind of is incorporated with a strong launch, is being able to, get your post up on your socials, to make connections in the DMs, to network, to sell directly, to incentivize people to jump onto your email list so you can continue to warm them up there. A really strong launch is about warming up your audience. So when somebody does that short launch, quote unquote short launch, I want to call BS, because usually the people that have those doors open, doors closed, they've been posting, preempting, in general, getting people warm to the idea of what the new offer is for months, for weeks even, leading up to their official doors open. So for me, it's really important that you understand that whenever you are launching, the key factor is, do I currently have a warm audience? Do I have people who trust my authority and what I'm sharing? Do I have people who have a really strong idea of why I, as a brand, am different than the others? That's a big part of it. So you want to give yourself a realistic timeline to do that so that somebody goes, ooh, this is correct. This is great. This is the person that's going to fit this for me. This is also why in Money Mastery Academy, I built an entire 6-week launch calendar for you. So within that, the purpose behind it is that you can see how we want to hit different topics while you're launching so that you are able to truly get that warm audience that we're looking for. So consider how warm your audience is. Now, we're talking strategy here, but this is also us talking about, okay, if I really want to give people time to build trust with me, 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks is going to make sense for me. You can be making sales every day during those 4 to 6 weeks, but the idea is that you allow yourself the time to truly have the best possible outcome. Now, within that, there's also a sense of how are you going to take care of yourself? So while you set up your post, you have your action plan going, I encourage a lot of my clients to dot their calendar with ways in which to reward themselves on a weekly basis. So whether that's going for a long walk on your favorite spot in the city, whether that's doing a movie night, that movie that you really wanted to see, whether that's spa days, whether that's night out with friends, or maybe that's even turning off your phone and making sure that you get to relax for an entire day without thinking about any of those things. It's an idea of like, okay, I'm going to reward myself for hitting every point on my action plan this week by doing that. So the idea within this is that whenever you have this timeline, you can make sure you give yourself these rewards for hitting it consistently. But the thing is, I really think the important thing I want to get across is that when we're selling, we're doing something pretty big. We're sharing something that we've created and built for the world, for the people that we know that we can help in a big way. We want to feel like it's celebration. We don't want to feel like we're pushing ourselves, like we don't want to feel desperation. We don't want to feel lack, right? We want to feel like we are doing something for ourselves that's going to enrich other people's lives. But within that, this is where I want you to remind yourself, especially for my type A workaholics, how can you make sure that while you're doing something so big and you're celebrating, you're selling your stuff, can you make sure that you set time on your calendar to create some type of balance? Some type of balance there. So really understand, give yourself a longer window to sell. Allow yourself to think about how warm is my audience? How much time do I need to warm them or get them red hot for the offer that I'm creating or the offer that I've already had before, but I want to make sure that they know the new way I'm approaching this problem, this challenge that they're running up against. Really consider that. So my suggestion is 4 to 6 weeks, but again, set something that's realistic to you. 4 to 6 weeks with some type of reward for yourself at the end of every week. Now, if you hear me say that and you're like, 4 to 6 weeks is a long time. I don't think I can do that. I think it's going to be too much for me. I'm going to burn out. Just the thought of doing something that long. This might mean that you have some other baggage that's coming with selling. It's not just about doing the work or putting the stuff out there. There's some other baggage that's weighing down your process. So we're going to get into that today. So whenever we're talking about launch burnout, one of the things that happens so quickly that I always have to highlight is that you want to be radically detached from the outcome. Now, I already listed to you the number of things you can be doing during a launch, but whenever you are launching, the idea is that you are doing a science experiment. You are seeing, okay, I'm going to put these posts out. I'm going to show them how well I know them. I'm going to share my messaging that I've worked so hard on to create the best possible environment for the sales that are coming your way. Because there's no perfect guarantee. There's just you can make things more highly probable versus not. So we put a lot of energy into our business, right? We do it. The top reason I know is that when clients lose steam, that they've attached their self-worth to the results, which is exactly why I'm like, let's focus on the process, right? They've attached their self-worth to the results, or they are only motivated when they're getting results. So this is what's been interesting. I had a Thrive Mastermind client the other week who was talking about, I've launched a lot. I don't know how to launch anymore. I it's just not working out the way I want it to. And I posed the question to her: what would it mean if you were getting 2 new sales calls every week? What would that look like? Would your motivation be different? And thankfully, she was fully honest. She goes, yeah, I'd keep going. Yeah, this would be great. So part of this is that we got to realize that we have to learn to walk before we're going to run. We have to do the things before they're there, before it's going to just fall into our laps. Okay. So this is why launching is such an important process becoming a more successful entrepreneur, hitting higher cash months, is that if you can show up during a launch when things aren't happening like a snap of the fingers, you are likely going to be able to show up for the launches that are going to have everyone coming in the door. You're likely going to be able to show up for that long-term success that you're looking for. But the launch itself is this practice. So we want to put one step in front of the other. That means that when we are launching, it's how can we get excited about the process? How can we get really into the action plan that we're going after and get proud of ourselves for doing those things? And then we get to recalibrate from that versus deciding that if I don't get a sale every single week, then I'm going to give up after two, right? So we got to really put our focus in the right place. The idea of delayed gratification is absolutely a skill for any entrepreneur to really hone in, for sure. Absolutely. So your launch's success or failure does not define your worth as a person or leader. I want to say it again. Your launch's success or failure does not define you, does not define your worth. This is where you're understanding that you may not be able to control the exact number of purchases and the exact number of clients you get, but you can think about how you're creating the most nurturing environment to boost your chances to make sure you're getting those sales. So this is why I'm going to tell you, practice radical detachment. Practice radical detachment. Do this by becoming more attached to your daily actions and your daily promises to yourself. So focus on what you have planned each week. Great opportunities to have some fun with it. So this might mean getting a little more creative with content creation. Maybe it's doing a live with somebody else. Maybe it's like finding just simple ways to inject a little more joy in the way in which you do it so that you can focus on the task that you have control over versus the outcome, which you can only influence. You cannot control. Within that too, like, what does it look like to feel empowered whenever, like, at the end of the week, you go like, damn, I did it. Damn, I did every single thing I said I was going to do. That's building self-trust within yourself. That's realizing that you're going to do the damn thing no matter what, right? Show, show yourself some big gratitude in that. You can ask yourself to have an accountability buddy for launching, making sure that you have someone supportive by your side. Even to, you can just share what you're knocking out every single week and be able to check in at the end and going, I did every single thing on my list. That all can be a way that where instead of focusing on where are the sales coming from, why aren't they coming, what does this mean about me? We are instead focusing our attention on what we can control of how much joy can I inject into the process of this? How much support can I feel from friendships? Um, how can I feel really proud and show myself some trust that I'm going to follow through with what I promised? Because again, like I'm saying, we do not want to be the person who's only motivated when we're getting the exact results that we want. Exact results we want. I've had clients before who are getting sales calls, who are getting responses to their posts, who are getting into the DMs, people who are like, I want to learn more about that. Can I chat with you over coffee? All of these things. There are so many ways for them to see that things are happening, but because it wasn't a sale, because it wasn't immediately the things that they wanted it to be, it's like, it's not working. And it's like, I was like it's one of those moments where you like want to shake somebody and go like, pay attention to what's happening. Those are all good signs. So again, a launch is not a reflection of your self-worth. It isn't. It absolutely isn't. It's a reflection on your market, how well your audience is engaged, and how you might want to shift the way in which you're messaging your product. But leaning into this, we're going into the third way of how you can make sure you're not burning out during launch. Now, I've talked about all the ways you can, instead of focusing on the outcome, you can focus on how to create more joy in the process of the launch. But let's talk about how can you stay excited. Now, I alluded to this with my client a moment ago, but I want you to use this tool. I like to call it the power of one. So practice the power of one. So the power of one is a tool I give my clients to pay attention to the good things that are happening, the small measures, small little inclinations, small pieces of engagement that are signs that things are working. So before you get a sale, you normally are going to get a like, a comment, a save, a new follower, a new subscriber, a DM, a sales call, an email asking questions about your offer. All of those are absolutely something you should be celebrating, something you should be excited about. Like if I'm getting likes or a high amount of likes on a particular topic focused on that on my launch, I'm going to be like, hell yeah. Okay. This is really good. This is a topic people really need to really like. Let me create 2 or 3 more posts about that. Or if I'm getting a DM from somebody who I would think would be interested in it, this is a perfect opportunity for me to be able to say, oh, okay, perfect. I'm going to mention that this offer might be the right fit for them. Right. So again, these are all the pre-steps before they come into a sale. So the idea is that if I focus on just one piece going well, the rest of it's going to continue to go well. So I'm embracing this positive mindset. So all of these are worth celebrating and absolutely not to be overlooked. I jokingly talk about when I have clients who will be like, well, it's not enough. I'll be like, oh, okay, you're shitting on your own party. We're not going to shit on our own party. We want to be able to think about, okay, if I am bringing in this level of engagement on topics that I address within my offer, that I support people with within my offer, within my product, that means I'm getting people to be even warmer to saying yes to the sale. So when this is all happening, things are working in your favor. So if one person is resonating, if one person is resonating with what you're doing, there are likely 5 or more people who will also resonate. So think about this like a ripple effect. If I cast a stone and it hits and it creates a wave, it's going to continue to create waves. It's going to continue to create waves for everyone else who relates, who is similar, who's looking for those solutions that your offer provides. So understanding that when we practice the power of one, part of it is to truly identify when things are working for us, but the other side of it is also to keep our energy up, that we're focusing on, okay, if this is working, let me keep dialing it down. Let me keep using this as a way to strategize, but also for me to get excited every single day to come back in. Now, I talked about with practicing radical detachment, you do it before things happen, but also pay attention to when things are happening, even if they're small, to make sure that you keep that energy flowing and going. So these 2 mindset shifts are essential when it comes to selling, essential when it comes to realizing that, okay, we might get rejected in this process. We might do these things, but if I focus on these 2 particular things, I'm golden. It's going to happen no matter what, because I'm promising this to myself. So big ones: practice radical detachment and then practice the power of one. Those 2 things are essential. Now, the 4th one is something that I feel is important on any day in business, but this is something that happens so often when I have a burnt out entrepreneur, is that you want to create a luxurious launch routine. So this is a routine that is full of compassion, movement, self-love, all of these details coming into play. The reason I need to bring this up, though, is that the first thing that happens when someone is launching a new product, or they're new to entrepreneurship, or they're new to selling, is that once they press post on the, hey, I've got a new offer coming out, it's almost as if everything else goes out the window. Nothing else is happening in their life. This is the most important thing. So what goes out the window, though, is, getting good sleep. Like in general, they rarely leave their desk. They find themselves wanting to work instead of seeing their friends. Like the little like poster child of the hustle culture that's just not going to work, right? We want to be able to go through and sell every single day. If we're getting rid of our routines that support us, that empower us, it's just not going to work. It's not going to happen that way. So we want to talk about how we can do this in a way that we're not fast tracking ourselves to burnout. So what does this look like? We've learned in this series that selling is an essential part of just growing our business, essential part of generating the wealth we want, all of the above. So our ability to create a calm environment, a calm routine for ourselves directly affects our ability to reach the results that we want. So this is where I want you to make a daily promise to yourself. And I said daily promise. And we've talked about your timeline. We've talked about the mindset shifts we want to take. But if we want to truly have a routine that supports us, you want to hit 3 key areas: mind, body, and soul. So if you have 1 to 2 daily actions in each of these areas, then you're going to feel like you are supported. So mind could be meditation, could be daily walks, could be journaling, could be breath work, could be calling your friend, could be sending a quick text, could be listening to affirmations, leaning into your mind. We got that, right? Body. This is definitely movement, exercise, being in nature, dancing in your apartment, scheduling workouts with your friends. Take even too if you wanted to use this time to do extra skincare, just feeling good about yourself. That's all of this is going to work. Sleep, your favorite meals. Absolutely. So 1 to 2 things in that particular area that you are promising yourself that you're going to hit every single day. And then, of course, we've got your soul. Now, this is relationships, right? This is making sure that you're not in this alone. Now, this is everything from like I have my rising influence community that supports clients or people who are selling online. I also have accountability buddies. I'm also a coach, of course. So you have all these places. That's really important, but also a close friend who can remind you that you're doing something fantastic. Being able to just have a group of people that will be really supportive. Now, in Money Mastery Academy, I'm creating little pods for all of my Money Mastery Academy clients so that they are not only getting support from me every single week, but they also have one person every single month that allows them to hit their targets and hit their goals. Because I know the power of having someone in your corner, and we want you to have multiple people in your corner. That's the big thing. So other things you can do for your soul, that might be mantras, that might even too, like for me, sometimes it's just like flipping a tarot card. Sometimes it's just lighting my favorite candle. Sometimes for me, soul is about just romanticizing the things I love in my life. It could be my cup of coffee in the morning. But the idea being that I am creating a luxurious launch routine that I make sure I hit 1 to 2 daily actions in mind, body, and soul. So hitting all 3 of those. All right. We've talked so much about selling and why it's so important and launching. The idea with all of this is what I want to kind of give to you here is that within these 4 ways to prevent that burnout, I also want you to take on the idea that when you say you're going to sell, I want you to put on a science. They don't really have hats. A science. What is I immediately think of like the doctor with their like thing on their head. I feel like that's like in a costume, but okay, you're a scientist. Let's just say you're a scientist with a lab coat. We're putting on a lab coat. Sorry, I've had too much. I need a little more coffee, clearly. Um, so we're going to act like when we are deciding to sell a new offer, I'm going to put on a lab coat. I'm here to test my theories. I'm here to test my content. I'm here to truly put myself out there so that people come to me. So I want you to look at this in 2 different ways. A launch is a celebration of creating a course, a product, or program that you know can support somebody else, that you know is going to save them time, energy, money, whatever it might be to get them to where they want to go. A launch is an opportunity to see how warm your audience is and to trusting your brand and their ability to be ready to buy. A launch is a chance for you to increase your visibility and your engagement. So it's a nice little extra jolt to make sure you're hitting those points of growing your business. A launch is not a measure of your self-worth. A launch is not a way to test if people like you as a person enough to invest money with you. A launch is not a period where you're demanding high energy and high productivity throughout the entire launch. It is not a definitive factor that this means if it doesn't go well, that your business isn't going to go well. Nah, it's just a definitive factor that we got to change your messaging. Truly understanding the 2 distinctions between a launch is and what a launch is not is going to allow you to see selling more as a playground, more as a way to learn more about yourself than to absolutely feel as if it's something that's like really harsh and really hard against you. So I want you to consider this. I want you to see this for what it is. If you are wanting to continue, you've hung out with me during this Rising Sales series. Everything I've been giving it here is the what. Now, the how, the things that you really need to build up your selling system, to show up, to have such clear and direct messaging, I've got there for you. So if you are wanting a not only supporting launch for yourself, but also to truly attract that wealth, abundance in your life, to have the tools, the techniques to go from social to sales, to build a magnetic offer suite that you love, to have an easy rinse and repeat system for selling so that you in general enjoy this process, but don't always have to do it. Money Mastery Academy is absolutely for you. You deserve to make sales on the daily, and it is absolutely possible. I've built it for you. I've built it for you. So check the show notes if you want to learn more about the process. We're currently in pre-launch, but it will not be in pre-launch for much longer. So understand that if you join in, you are going to get so much support, but also we're going to hit on everything we said in here, but apply it directly to you and who you are as a business leader. If you're thinking about it and you're like, I want to, let me see, go ahead and get started by doing one step towards your selling system. I have a bio breakdown freebie also in the show notes that you can go ahead and check out. Thank you so much for sticking around, hanging out for this 4-part series. It has been a blessing. I want you to see selling as an absolute empowerment move for you, but also that it can be it can be something you enjoy. It just takes some shifts. Mindset. It also takes a little bit of a system. We can do this together. Until next time, live a little more limitless.